It's another special edition of Litter Media Live, getting ready for the Sorghum Festival. It'll be taking place this weekend down in just outside of Portsmouth on the west side of Scioto County. We have with us today Brent Charette. Thank you so much for stopping by.
You're very welcome.
Brent is with Arc of Appalachia. We'll talk more about what they do as well as the festival coming up right after this from Pickaway-Ross Career and Technology Center, Adult Education.
Find a career you love with Pickaway-Ross Adult Education. Skilled trades careers are in high demand with no signs of slowing down. Pickaway-Ross offers career training programs with expert instructors and hands-on learning tactics to create a variety of opportunities. Visit our website for more information.
It is the John Roger Simon Sorghum Festival, and for those who've never heard about it, it's been around for a couple of years now.
Yeah, John actually started the Sorghum Festival in 1982. That's when he began the festival, and he started making sorghum syrup. At the same time, John was very involved in traditional music, and so it was sorghum making, music, and then home-cooked country food.
Sounds like John was a fella, and he still is, but he sounds like he was a man from a different time.
John grew up in the 1940s, and John loved his Appalachian heritage. And John also was a professor at Shawnee State University, and he cared about the Appalachian culture so much that he spent his life's work trying to help his students understand, care, and be proud of their Appalachian heritage.
And for kids who stay home for college, that's pretty important to get them a little more informed about the area they've grown up in.
That's right. That's right. And John spent a lot of time doing that. He would take his kids on tours into West Virginia and Kentucky so they understood their roots more effectively.
Yeah, because a lot of those folks live in Ohio now.
That's right. That's right.
My family was down in Kentucky, and they ended up here as well. Mm-hmm. But we go further back. He was a French settler, right?
That's right.
His family.
One of the most unique things about the Simon Farm is that it's from an area in Scioto County that was settled by French immigrants. And those immigrants, actually, they had a post office in that area called French Ohio. And that's not what I expected when I went down the first time. It's like, it's French. That's not very common, or not what I would expect. And so, yeah, he's the fifth generation. His great-great-grandfather, Jean-Baptiste Narjos, settled in that valley. He was a miller and set up a sawmill and a grist mill and served that region of Scioto County.
So how did sorghum become a thing with the farm?
John loved farming and everything about it. In 1982, a man that lived a couple miles down the road, Albert Hackworth, sold John his sorghum press and his sorghum evaporator that he could use to make sorghum syrup. And that was the birth of sorghum making in that area. Sorghum in general is a crop that was grown frequently throughout Appalachia. It's still fairly common in Kentucky, Tennessee, and more southern states. And it's the way that Appalachian people got their sugar, got their sweetness. So sorghum syrup or molasses, sorghum molasses.
You know, I went through Alabama this summer on vacation, and I saw what I thought looked like sugar cane. And I thought to myself, that can't be sugar cane, could it? Maybe it was sorghum I saw.
It certainly could be sorghum cane. It could, if far enough south, they do grow some sugar cane, but they are very closely related. Both sorghum and sugar cane and corn are all in the grass family.
Now here we're very familiar with the grains of wheat and corn.
That's right.
But sorghum, it's important, isn't it, to really nature?
Right. Sorghum's really important. In fact, it's grown as a grain crop in the West, the Dakotas and so on. Sorghum grain. Sorghum is used as fodder or feed for cattle. And in fact, John used to, after we pressed the cane, the sorghum cane, spent cane, would be taken up in the hollow to feed his cattle. They would, because of that sweetness, they would love it.
Yeah, everybody likes sweets, don't they?
That's right.
Even if you're a cow.
That's right.
This festival is a way to remember the sorghum importance, but also you're making some syrup, and that I think is attractive to a lot of people.
Right. It's an important festival, and one of the things that we've done or try to do with the festival is to make it encompass a lot more of the heritage skills that are fading from our countryside. And so we make apple butter, we press apple cider, we make heritage crafts like wheat weavings and corn husk dolls, and people are encouraged to get involved. It's a very family-oriented event, and so we want people to try their hand at different things, and especially young people, children. It's a very family-friendly event.
This is both Saturday and Sunday, so if you're looking for something to do with the kids and the family, it's a nice little drive. Just hop out on 104 and head south, right?
That's right. And then when you hit Route 73, you go west on 73 just 2 or 3 miles, and then turn south on Pond Creek, Careys Run Road.
Okay. If you could, Aaron, pop up that slide that has the barn on it again. This is the Sorghum barn, right?
Right. The shed in the foreground of that image is the sorghum shed, where the evaporator is. We'll have a hit and miss engine running the press, and so to squeeze the sap out of the cane, and then that's just gravity fed into the evaporator, much like a maple syrup evaporator. If people are familiar with that, it works on the same premise.
Yeah. Now you've got 4 cooks, correct?
Right. We're cooking 4 days, Saturday and Sunday, but we already had our first cook on Monday of this week because we want to have syrup available for visitors when they get there, because it takes a while to go from cane to syrup.
What kind of a time period are we looking here for that process?
It's actually days. I mean, when you talk about what you start with the cane, the first thing that happens in preparing the sorghum cane to become sorghum syrup is you have to top it. We top it, and that's where the seed is. The grain head of that sorghum is in the top, and we want to keep our sap clean, so we top it. Then we're going to strip all the leaves off for the same reason, because that will it will make the sap less clean. And then you cut the cane. You try to never let that cane touch the ground, again, to keep the cane clean. Sure. Put it on a wagon, then it goes to the press. And that process, you strip one day, you cut the next day. It takes a day to top it. You've got days into preparing the cane to run through the press. Once it goes through the press, it's one day, it's done.
And then it's ready for pancakes.
Then it's ready for pancakes, or as John said, is a good biscuit.
Right, right. Now, John used to grow larger portions of acres dedicated to sorghum.
That's right. We only grow probably about an acre of sorghum. John grew acres of sorghum, and his cooks would last for more than 2 weeks. He grew, and he distributed it through, he distributed it from the farm, but he also distributed it through local grocery stores and things like that as well. So Simon Sorghum was well known.
Yeah, so if you've seen that at some point in time, this is the place we're talking about.
That's right.
There's no admission charge?
It's all free parking and free admission to the event.
Okay. Now, that's the event, which is September 28th and 29th. But we want to take a moment to talk a little bit about Arc of Appalachia, because you're involved with this organization which runs the farm now, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
It's one of how many locations you have now?
I believe we have 23 preserves, but they cover a large area. We have over 12,000 acres in the Arc of Appalachia, and they cover all different kinds of properties. We are conservation and preservation oriented from a cultural history, natural history standpoint. We do preserve special places. You'll find that the Arc of Appalachia has preserves that have some of the most striking wildflower displays in the entire state of Ohio. Ohio River Bluffs, our home at Highlands Nature Sanctuary, Gladys Riley Golden Star Lily Preserves. Some of the rarest flowers are found in our preserves, and so they're destinations for people.
Sounds like something we need to do next summer. Pointing at Aaron Glandon over here, because we like to get out and see that sort of thing. And I wonder, with the drought and everything that Ohio has been experiencing, more concentrated in central and eastern Ohio, but did it impact any of those wildflowers
tremendously. we're in Highland County, so that corner of Highland and Ross, that corner was in extreme drought. We had not received, we had 3 inches of rain since the middle of May.
Wow.
And so we were really, really hurting. And we still are. I don't think there's any question about that.
I don't know that we'll catch up.
Yeah, hopefully we can. Hopefully we can.
Yeah. If someone wants to learn more about ARC of Appalachia, if they want to become a volunteer or help out in some fashion, what do they need to do?
All they need to do is go to our website, which is arcofappalachia.org. And on that page, you'll see a banner across the top, and you'll find a volunteer tab. You'll also find an events tab. We have educational events that go on throughout the year, and most of them are nature-oriented. We have a wildflower pilgrimage in the spring, which is outstanding, and we take tours over a 3-day period to different preserves in different parts of our system to get people out to see the flowers. At the Appalachian Forest Museum, which is by our headquarters, if people remember the old 7 caves, that's our headquarters. That's one of the first properties that were purchased to make the Highlands Nature Sanctuary. They have some of the most outstanding flower displays, especially the large flowered trillium in that valley right there, the Rocky Fork Gorge. It's just incredible.
My wife and I were there for a drive this past summer. We'd gone to Bainbridge, went to Dairy Queen to get hamburgers, and we thought, you know what, we want to get dessert later. Let's drive out 50 and see what we find. And came across that location that you're speaking of. And I looked at her and I said, I had no clue it was here. And she replies, I was here as a kid. You know, now we're talking several years ago. I won't say how many. But then we went back to get ice cream. But it's an amazing view. And just even though the road's kind of sketchy to get where you get to, it's just a sight to behold.
That's right. And right there at the museum, you don't have to be able to hike miles. The trail that goes right from the museum is only a half mile long. Yes, you walk down into the gorge, so you have to come back up, but it's doable for most people that have more normal mobility.
And you were telling me before we went on the air here that you're closing in on finishing up another few trails.
Yes, we have trails throughout our preserve system, so that's something else you can find on the website is you can go to hiking, and it'll tell you our preserves, where the hiking trails are. We have over 80 miles of hiking trails in our preserve system, and they just keep growing. We have 5 trails that we built this year alone. So
you could take a whole month and just say, I'm going to walk those trails.
And you can walk through every environment that you can imagine. We have trails through wetlands. We have trails through mature forests. We have trails through the prairies of Adams County. You said that you started in West Union, so you know about those very rare and unusual prairies in Adams County. We have multiple properties in that region that have those trails on those prairies.
It's great to know that there are groups that are preserving this type of countryside. I can't tell you how many people I've heard over the years talk about driving the Appalachian Highway through Adams and Pike and those counties, and just saying it's a beautiful area. And for us who live here, we are attached to it, but then we're like, but you got to see Hawaii, you know, or whatever.
Right.
But we've got a beautiful spot right here in our backyard.
This eastern temperate forest that we're a part of is unique in the world, and those prairies in Adams County are unique in the world. Those kinds of prairies don't exist very many places in the world, and so I think we sort of take for granted the things that we're most familiar with, and the ARC tries to preserve those places that have that unique natural history that you can't find very many places.
And while you're not part of the World Heritage inscription, you're part of the region. There's going to be a lot of people from around the world coming to see this for the first time.
Well, and what I would like you to know, too, is that we're very much interested in the cultural history of the region. In fact, right here in Chillicothe, we have Junction Earthworks and Steel Earthworks. And those are ARC preserves, and we do have trails there. And in fact, Junction Earthworks has the highest visitation of any individual site that we own.
Is that right?
Yeah, because it's so close to Chillicothe, and people just rely on that place in a big way. It's a place I can go walk my dog. You know, a lot of people go out there to do that. But it's also a Hopewell site. And so, no, it wasn't included in the UNESCO designation, but we own multiple Hopewell sites. Steele, Junction, Spruce Hill, and then the biggest one, which just opened just miles from John Roger Simon Farm, is called Tremper Mound. Tremper Mound was part of the Portsmouth Works, a huge earthworks complex centered on Portsmouth, the city. And we have Tremper Mound, which was a charnel house. It was a place where they had funeral rites for their dead. Over 300 Hopewell people were buried in the mound, and not so much buried in the mound. The mound was the last chapter. It was a charnel house, and when the Hopewell finished with a charnel house, when they were done there, they would burn it down, and then they would build a mound on top of it. So they didn't build the mound as the mound was the last chapter. It was the last thing they did. It's everything that happened up to that.
Almost covering the ashes.
Covering
what once
the ashes.
Was.
That's right. That's right.
So just to let all of you know that even though the name is, in regards to World Heritage, the name is specific to the Hopewell, everybody's included. That's you right. know, and because the region is just taken up by, sure, you go out here to Hopewell National Park on 104, and there's connectivity all the way down to Fort Ancient and up to Newark, but all those spots in between, we weren't named, but we're part of it.
That's right. That's right. And the Hopewell are truly one of the most amazing cultures that have existed, and they were centered right here on the Scioto River Valley, from Portsmouth all the way up to Chillicothe, then over to, they believe there's an avenue that literally went from Chillicothe to Newark. And they're finding signs that there was a direct connection between the two.
Right.
And astonishing engineering.
You look at those satellite images, and it's like, this is incredible. How did they know?
Right, right.
There's a reason. Something, and we don't understand. But,
that's right.
Boy, if we could have lived 10,000 years ago, maybe we would have been able to answer those questions. Again, if you want to learn more about Arc of Appalachia, for our radio listeners, if you go to our Facebook post on this interview, you'll see the information that you have there that'll take you right to the website and where you can learn more.
Sure, that'd be great.
Brent, appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you very much.
So much. Brent Charette, he is with, again, Arc of Appalachia, but this weekend with the Simon Sorghum Festival, which is taking place in Scioto County. Thanks for watching this edition of Litter Media Live.